I want to start off with sharing a little story first, just to give everybody a concept of where we're going. So I'm going to start way back 2007. There's a guy called Brian Chesky, and he was sleeping on an air mattress in his San Francisco apartment. Couldn't pay rent, right? Guess where he's at today? Today, he's the founder and owner of Airbnb, which is worth over $75 billion. But what changed with that? What happened? Well, he left his comfort zone, right? That's the key thing that changed here. So, when was the last time that you told yourself, I'm not ready yet? Think about that for a second, right? And so I want you to think about what's the business goal that you've been sitting on for more than 6 months. Take a minute, take 30 seconds and write this one down, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today is what is that comfort zone? What's holding you back? We're going to expose it. We're going to try to understand it and we're going to set you free from it. We're going to try to break you free so that you can go on and really work on your comfort zone and develop naturally and organically. Because as you learn to expose it and you learn to understand it, you're going to push forward and you're going to really identify these things naturally going forward. But I want you to understand one key thing, and that is that your brain keeps you stuck in your comfort zone. And why it's doing so is because it's calculating these things that keep you super comfortable. It always has been this way because as humans, we're wired for this. In fact, like we go back to the fact that it goes back thousands and thousands of years ago when we as humans we had to stay safe, right? And in those early human evolution days, being in your comfort zone meant you weren't eaten by lions and eaten by by the animals in the wilderness. But now what happens when you get stuck in your comfort zone, it's actually a route to death. That's really what it is, because you become so comfort it just doesn't move the needle anymore, right? And so that's what we really want to talk through this one today and understand that the psychological state is where you operate these familiar routes and you think it's minimizing stress for you and risk and it feels safe. That's where your growth and aspiration goes to die. And that's what we talked about. And there's three key characteristics in this, and we'll break each one down, starting with the first one, which is safe. It feels safe because safe is predictable, right? Give you an example. What safe looks like real day to day. You procrastinate and you check emails instead of making those calls, those tough, cold sales calls that you're supposed to be doing, but you're like, nah, I'm going to check my emails because it's safe, right? The second thing that I find that happens is we get into a routine. Now, I'm been guilty of this. I love routine, right? But what happens with this is that you've been, perfecting your product for 18 months before you launch it. That's an example of getting stuck in a routine before you actually go do it. And the third thing that I find is that you get into that comfortable state. You stay in that comfort level of your business instead of scaling it because you're super comfortable with where it's at. The change is scary. You just don't know what you don't know. And so you're like, why would I risk it? I'm going to stay right here where I know it feels safe, right? But the real paradox here is that comfort, although it feels safe, it's actually the most dangerous place for an entrepreneur to be at. And why is that? Well, because markets change. They change weekly, they change monthly. Your competitors around you are innovating. And if you're comfortable just staying where you're at, then you're essentially saying you're comfortable with your business dying, right? That's the reality of it. Because if we think of some examples, Blockbuster was comfortable with retail, and Netflix came in and made them obsolete. Kodak was comfortable with film, It was what they did. It was what they thought was really good until digital cameras came in and completely destroyed them, right? And again, comfort shows that it killed all those companies. So why do we crave comfort? Again, I talked about like the human aspect of it, how we're wired. But what really is the dangerous part is that you get this dopamine fix from rewarding yourself in staying in predictable patterns. Evolution designed us all to avoid risk, like I said, right? It designed us to stay comfortable and not innovate. And so this is a big challenge because as humans, we're fighting thousands of years of unfamiliar territory that we have to get out of this. And so once we break down and break out of this evolution gap, we can actually start to see that risk is not as scary. So to do this, to show you how we break out of this and make you comfortable, we're going to write a few things down here as we go through this call tonight. So get your pens and papers ready, okay? We're going to write down a few things, starting off with the first one is write down one business action you keep procrastinating, you keep postponing. Which one? Just write it down. Okay. Got it? Next, beside it, I want you to put the excuse you've been using, so why you haven't made the change. Okay? And write that one down. What's the excuse? The next thing I want you to write down is how long you've been postponing it for. What's the length of time that you've allowed yourself to be good with this excuse? Got it? Now, look at that again. Read it to yourself. That is your comfort zone on paper. If you were able to write this down and that paper says 6 months, 10 years, I don't know, right? But there's a length of time that you just wrote that down. That's your comfort zone. That's what you are good with. Today, we're going to change that. So let me share with you two case studies that may inspire you. The first one, Sara Blakely worked as a door-to-door tax machine salesperson for 7 years. Comfortable salary, safe career. She was 27, so young, right? But here's what she did. She invested $5,000, just $5,000 in creating Spanx. She made cold calls. She hung out on, constantly on these networking calls, drove all over the place, rejection after rejection. But you know where she's at today? She's a multi-million-dollar company. And she's the youngest self-made female billionaire in the world today. But she lost 7 years in her comfort zone first, right? So gives you an idea of where you may be at and what may be holding you back. The second one is Reed Hastings. Now, I said a little bit about this earlier, but he built Netflix, right? And he could have stayed in his comfort zone with DVD by mail. It was working, it was profitable, but instead he pivoted. He made a decision to go streaming instead of just staying where everybody was saying, you don't need to do that, it's too early. But what could have happened, and he knew that there was a risk taking into that change, is that it almost killed his business. He put a lot of money into this. But by doing so, by taking a risk in himself and knowing that it was worth it, today, Netflix is worth over $247 million in subscribers and $33.7 billion in revenue. That's by taking a risk. And in doing so, destroyed Blockbuster and changed the game completely. Now, calculate your comfort zone tax. And this is how you do it, okay? And you might be saying, well, what do you mean? What's this comfort zone tax? That's your current monthly income that you have in your business tied that's holding you back. So let's take a potential monthly income if we want to take an action in this and say that you want to avoid losing this. We want to do a quick formula on this one, okay? So let's take what is your current business revenue today. Write that down. What are you currently making today? Okay. Write that down. And then next to it, I want you to put down what is the amount that you could change to in growth if you took action, right? Write that down. What is the potential income that if you took action that you're avoiding? And then beside it, put how many months you've been postponing it for. Now, here's the math equation. It's your potential minus your current times your month. So if an example, say you make 5,000 a month today in your business, just regular 5,000 or maybe 5,000 in your job, okay? And your business idea could make you 10,000. Now, it's been sitting in your head for 18 months, right? Now, that's 5,000 times 18. So $90,000 loss potential that you could be chasing and earning if you just get out of your comfort zone. So what's every month delayed costing you? That's the question that I want to inspire you to start generating movement as we move forward today, right? So this isn't about guilt. I'm not here to make you feel guilty, guys. That's not my intention. But it's about creating urgency. It's really pushing you from your comfort zone and understanding that this is disguised as purely a trick. It's just a trick to keep you there. So we want to get out of this, and we want to talk about a few ways that it does trick you. And the first one that it does is that it creates this perfectionist belief in that you have to be perfect before you can make the jump. Well, I hear it all the time. I hear people say, I'm not ready, or the product is not ready, or we can't do this. Man, and you spend, years building out that perfect website or launching that business. And I can tell you that if you have not jumped into a business and you have not felt embarrassed by your first version, then you've launched too late. Man, I can just tell you from our own experience, Willie and I were thinking about this idea and we just let it go. And we've been learning as we go. And Willie can tell you about his experience with Willys Trucking and how he started with just himself in a pickup truck and a car puller. And then, many years after was able to sell it for such an amazing story and record multiplier when he sold that company. And it all started from just doing it and not holding yourself back, right? Don't be embarrassed, right? You think of so many of these successful people, like Mark Zuckerberg launched Facebook without an MBA, without, working still at school. And he just let it go. And look how busy he is today. But I hear all this all the time. I don't have a CRM yet. I don't have this perfect website. I don't have this. Stop it. All you're doing is creating paralysis for you. That's it. That's all you're creating is you're creating roadblocks that don't exist. And you might say, yeah, but those are all like really famous people. And, what about just the average person? Well, you've got a few of us here in the room. There's a lot of us here that have started things with just the motivation and an idea, and you don't need to be an expert. Like I can tell you, Tony Robbins he doesn't have a psychology degree, but he's built a $500 million empire, leading and motivating people. He doesn't have anything special that none of us don't have. All he did is that he just didn't stay there and stay frozen. He went for it, right? So, which is one of the key things that we want to introduce to you, and that is the auditing yourself consistently. Check in with yourself and ask every 3 months, how many times have I postponed something? How many times have I avoided having difficult conversations, as an example, right? Or have I ignored that customer outreach because it was a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit tough? How many times have you skipped going to a networking event? Add all these things up, because all of this is key to understanding a formal checkup on yourself and understanding where you sit in a pattern. Are you moderate? Are you a high risk, like are you mover, or are you a slow mover in that you need some more coaching and guidance before you can make that leap? Because we know, look, we know that you're not going to go from 0 to 100 right off the bat unless you have one of Willie's, helicopters or one of his cars, right? Like we know that. It's going to be a slow learning process, but that's okay. But it starts with arming yourself with the data to let you know of what is your comfort zone and how much you can push little by little so that you can send that one pitch email that you've been avoiding, right? Make that one extra phone call instead of the email because it's the easy route. You know what I mean? And instead of, like, here's one that may be relatable to some of you, raising the price when it felt uncomfortable, right? Raise the price, find out, go for it. So, this is what we're going to be talking about today, because one of the things that I've noticed is everybody gets inspired when they come from calls like this. But today, I want to take it from inspiration to doing. So I want to challenge you, because we talked about some of the formula. We talked about why it's important that you move forward. And we gave you some of the check-ins that you're going to need to do as a ground rule for you to get going. But we want to start with a micro dosage of discomfort. We want to start with a micro dosage because we know that research shows that if you take action within 48 hours of learning something, 80% of people have a higher success rate. So your window is 48 hours right now. So I want you to write down one uncomfortable action that you will take within 48 hours. I want you to be specific. Who you're going to report it to. Maybe it's this group, maybe it's inside the community. But what will the outcome look like? What are you going to do? I want you to make sure that you share this with the community this week, because I want to make sure that we help you go from feeling comfortable to growing. And I want you to walk away with 5 key takeaways from the call. The first one is comfort equals death to entrepreneurs. That's the first one. The second one is you're losing money every day. If you just do the simple calculation that we did, every time that you delay taking action, you're losing money. Your potential earnings are going down the drain. The third one is your excuses are patterns that can be broken. Don't be thinking the excuses as real obstacles. They're just patterns that are wired in your brain because we're all human and we just need to break through them. Okay. The fourth one is that so many successful entrepreneurs prioritize progress over perfection. That's the key takeaway when we talk about this one, is it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to go one step at a time to make this. And the fifth one here is, in the next 48 hours are your critical zone. That's the little window that you have to take one uncomfortable action. So next week, as you go into this next week, take on that tackle. Tackle the fear that is holding you back and see what happens, right? Make that one call. Just take it and see what happens. Go out of it and see what will happen, because you never know. That next Sara Blakely could be sitting here within this group, but we just don't know that, right? Until you go into it and make it happen. And don't worry about what if it doesn't work out? Just remember, many successful people, even Elon Musk and even the KFC guy, they all went bankrupt many, many times. So this is for you to be inspired to take action and do what most people don't do. And that's that they stay in their fear zone and quit. That's where they stay in. They don't move forward. But that's not you, right? You will move past that zone and into action, because, again, remembering that it's costing you money and it's holding you back. So what are you waiting for? Let's go kick it into action and start to move forward with understanding that you can break through as long as you push yourself forward. All right. So those are the key things we wanted to talk to you about as we kick off this series, and really unpacking comfort is not healthy. Comfort is where you go to die, and communicating that it's okay. it's okay if it's not perfect. It's okay. You're going to evolve. You're going to learn and grow as you move. So I'll kick it first to Willie to first maybe share some of his stories, as Willie's gone from this a few times in his career and in his businesses. So Willie, let's start with you sharing about how you went from, living in your comfort and then growing your businesses.
Oh boy. I guess I was pretty driven when I started the trucking company. When one guy came to me and said, "You're probably not going to make it." And so I had this push in me, I'm going to prove him wrong. So, so all the risk was out the window, and I just started going door to door, knocking on doors and just telling people about what we're doing, and I wouldn't stop. I would keep following up and just getting one sale at a time. And so yeah, and when I look back, that's what I needed to get out of my comfort zone, is someone to tell me something that I was going to prove him wrong.
That was your motivator, eh? That's
And it
interesting.
was. Yeah, I've probably never shared that, but
No, it's the first time I'm hearing that. I didn't know that that was your motivator. That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
I like it. I like it. It's important to note because some people need that push, or what's going to make you jump from that burning platform, right? And this is this guy, and I gotta ask, was it a close friend? Was it somebody that you knew? Was it a family member?
It was no, it wasn't actually even someone that I knew very well. And you know what? He didn't tell me that direct to my face. I heard it through someone else. So,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. That's even sneakier because I've heard this many times from close friends, right? And one of
Mm,
the things why I was asking this question is because I always hear people when they're starting businesses or they're looking to scale their businesses, they go to family or they go to friends, and then
yeah.
those people will tell them, "Oh no, that's too risky. Don't do that." You know? But then I always think, man, those people haven't done it. So why do we go to people that have never done it for advice? Like, should we
Mm,
not go to people that have done it and and have been successful, that can help us overcome the pitfalls? Like, I think if we
yeah.
did more of that, then we would be more willing to take those risks,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
and I think you just touched on it. That's one reason why we set up this community, was to, okay, let people come here and we'll tell what we did, and if they see that could work for them, why not?
Exactly, right? And so, but it's important, like for me, what my aha moment when I was doing this research on it and how to bring it to the group was like that potential gap. And I was sharing this with you not too long ago that I was going through that, internal struggle in myself, right? I'm like, man, because I did that equation and I'm like, that potential upside, man, like that just looks that's what I should be focusing on. And how many of us are sitting today thinking of that formula, right? And recognizing that the longer I sit here idle, I'm missing out on potential growth and earnings, right? And so that was that formula that woke me up quite a bit. So I
Hmm.
wanted to share that one here. So yeah, it's interesting. So Alan, I'll pass it back to you and we'll go around the room here.
Oh, I could talk about the comfort zone all day long. This is
Let's hear it. Let's hear your
I,
take on
I
it.
love it. I'll tell you a little story. You used a word, and it's fitting for when we talk about the comfort zone and the danger of staying in the comfort zone, and it's this thing in the comfort zone that's going to kill us. You said, what's one action that you keep procrastinating on or putting off? And I grew up. My dad was a businessman. I grew up in an entrepreneurial home, but my dad was one of these guys, and he'd always say, anything worth doing is worth doing well. If you can't do it well, it's kind of like don't even try sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I tell you, that really bred a attitude of procrastination for me. And I really began to build this little safe zone, that comfort zone. And I was so afraid to get out of it and screw up. I was so afraid to step out and look stupid and look foolish and sound stupid and sound foolish kind of thing, right? And one day
Yeah.
my grandfather came to me and he says, "Yeah, well, your dad's an idiot. Anything worth doing is worth doing poorly until you can do it better." And that really kind of just launched me out of my comfort zone and gave me permission to, who cares what I look like to somebody else? Who cares what I sound like to somebody else? That being so worried about what other people's, expectation of me was, or what I had to live up to. Man, that kept me in my comfort zone. I was dying in my comfort zone for years in there. So,
And you know what's
Mm.
like, I'll share openly with this group because I know Willie and Lauren have heard this from me several times, but public speaking and being in front of like venues like this, for me, I would not have done this a year ago. Like 0% that I would have been in front of people a year ago. No way. Right?
Mm.
I'm a true introvert. I want to be in my little basement by myself. Leave me alone. I'm a hobbit. Like, leave me alone. Right?
Mm.
But it's forced me to come out of my comfort zone and get out here and talk to entrepreneurs and business minded people and share, some of the stories and the real wins that we've had. And so I say, man, if I can do it, like everybody can. You can get out of your comfort zone and get out here and do what you're intended to do and go chase it.
truly. So this is the time when, Mark, I was giving you a little heads up at the beginning where we're going to open up the room, the Zoom room, and you can unmute yourself. And we want to hear what your key takeaway was, or your two or top three key takeaways was for tonight. Hopefully you got one, and I got some, or, your aha moment or whatever that might happen to be. We'd love to hear if you've got a question for either Hector or Willie tonight on the subject matter. If you've got you're kind of facing something and it's hard for you to get out of your comfort zone, that maybe Hector or Willie can help coach you through that and get you out of that. This is your time. But before we do that, Hector, would
Yeah.
you please humor me and would you give us that formula one more time? You gave us a formula to kind of help calculate a dollar amount that the comfort zone is costing us. Could you run us through that formula one more time?
Yeah. So it's your current earnings minus your forecasted earning potential times the length of time you have been procrastinating it, right? So let's say you're earning 10,000 today, right? Minus, minus so you're earning 5,000, but your potential's 10,000. You subtracted your $5,000 potential times the
Mm.
length in which you're waiting to do that. So if it's 10 months, well then that's 50, $50,000. So
Yeah.
there, right? So that's the formula of the potential to hopefully inspire you to take action.
Oh, that's expensive, that amount. It's like, oh my
It
gosh.
can be, right?
Yeah.
And like
Can be.
it can
Yeah.
be, you're sitting
Yeah.
on, an idea or an expansion and you're just sitting on there thinking about it. Should I? Should I? Do that math, do that equation. And I bet you're gonna have an aha moment because I did. I was like, man, like, huh, I know I could do a lot better with that one.